two of the most essential aspects of growing this city is the question around transportation, the question around energy. First, let's talk a little bit about energy. First thing I've talked about in my initial plan is about the planting of 50,000 trees over the next 4 years first. Secondly, the city itself fundamentally has only one person in the office that really evaluates the question regarding energy. Where you're talking about savings, if you look at Portland, Oregon, they have set a goal of by 2032 in terms of reduction in terms of certain types of energy that it would move forward at a particular time. Here in the city of Philadelphia, we need to also set goals. What kind of energy savings we would like to have in the city of Philadelphia. I see that fundamentally that we have not made this a priority in terms of our vehicles, in terms of our greening policy, in terms of our buildings, in terms of our code. We have not set that as an agenda. There's a direct connection in a clean, greener environment in terms of affecting violence. My theory is if you have an environment that fundamentally people want to live, that's workable, it has a lot to do in terms of growing your economy. So there is a direct connection. I just don't think there's been a question of focus. When we look at Chicago, look at Portland, Oregon, there's been more of a focus by the government, and I think that that's something that we've been lacking here. In the question of transportation, there's no question that we need a dedicated funding source at this particular point. I was there in 1991 and voted for the dedicated funding source. The first time ever. But in addition to that, rather than constantly get into debates between the city and the suburbs regarding the governance debate, I don't think it's a question about the governance debate. I think it's a fundamental question of how do we modernize our transportation system for the 21st century. A former governor of Maryland, Glenn Paradera, he basically used something called smart growth. We don't have a smart growth strategy in this region. We should not be talking about pitting the city against the suburbs, and we should look at it as a regional point. We can no longer, the city can't go along on transportation by itself. It is absolutely impossible. Anybody who tells you that the city can do it by themselves, get away from that person. Because it used to be a time it was a private system. And the reason it went to the public system because it could not survive. It could not survive. That's why we need to approach it from more of a regional standpoint. We need to approach it from more of a regional standpoint. Yes, it should be modernized. SEPTA was created in 1964. Here we're in the 21st century. We also need to look at our highways and our bridges. Over half the bridges in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are really dilapidated. Now, it's kind of hard to run a transit system if you don't have roads. So it can't be a thing of pitting transit against roads. We need both. And I just don't think it's been that kind of holistic approach. Let me just say this in closing relating to the government. The Transportation Commission that the governor came up with was an idea that I put forward. And basically what I said to the governor is that we need to have a seamless transportation strategy. There's a direct connection between transportation and energy in terms of efficiency. And as a result of a city, I would argue we could affect foreign policy. We could affect foreign policy if we are energy efficient. And we would not have our young boys and young girls going to war. If we ourselves as a city and as a region was far more efficient. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this when we get through, weatherization, some other kinds of things that we need to do, because I think we could affect national policy in terms of our own behavior.